On Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Today, I am very excited to introduce you to our guest. But before I do that, here's a quote I picked just for this episode. I want to talk about it with our guests. I think it really exemplifies a lot of things, our past and our life. And here it is. All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Arthur Schopenhauer. I'll reread it in a little bit, but we believe here at Culture Matters, when people read to think, write to develop, listen to hear what is unsaid, and speak to let go, they develop more value for themselves and others. So our purpose of this podcast is to uncover the genius of our guest, to make you, the listener, your curiosity cool. Because our vision is that human culture is open, curious, and focused on creating the future. So our mission is to read, write, listen, and speak every single day. I keep emphasizing write because our guest today helps so many writers transmute their thoughts, feelings, emotions across the world, me included. Tyler Wagner, founder of Authors Unite, who's helped, millions of people in the sense of if you're helping the writers, you're helping the readers, you're helping the thinkers, you're helping the doers. Now I'm just like really getting excited about this. Episode 29 of the Culture Matters podcast, season 3. Tyler has been on before, so check that episode out. It'll be a completely different conversation, this one. He's been a friend of mine for years. He helped my truth come in the world with 30 Days of Thought as a partner on that. And that's helped me and other people. Someone's about to publish a book with a whole chapter of the book about their 30 Days of Thought.
That's
and
incredible.
If it wasn't for Tyler, who knows? Maybe I never would have showed parts of who I was to the world. So I'm like now starting to stumble on this introduction because there's so much I want to say about Tyler. He's such a great person and a wonderful friend and a lover of people. So thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me. Pumped to be here.
I want to read that quick.
Oh, it's too fun.
It's just like, hopefully there's another side of me the guests, the audience see, because we have such a personal relationship. I'm going to read this quote again. I want your thoughts because started your business when you were relatively young. So think of this in a business context, even for all truth passes through three stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. When I read that, I think of your journey building this insanely successful business. What are your thoughts about my thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, once I thought about it, well, first I just thought about it as the quote that it is, and it's true in so many ways, which I'm sure we'll get into. But for my life, I was thinking about in the beginning when I started Authors Unite, and I still just some things just really stick with you. So one of my exes, which oddly enough, I was just talking with her mom and grandmother like 3 days ago through social media.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we're still connected, and this is from like an 8th grade girlfriend, so this is like 16 years ago or something. But when I first wrote my first book and it came out and it became a bestseller, she messaged me and she's like, I didn't even know you could read. That's what she said.
Whoa, zing.
Yeah, she got, and when I was in middle school and high school, I wasn't the same individual I am today, I guess you could say. I was the same, but just not quite evolved. So I could read at that time. That is not true. I could read, but the idea that I would become an author based on my performance as a young lad in middle school and high school is pretty wild. Like that, it was definitely not something that anybody foresaw happening. So I think it goes along with that, where it's like you said, first ridiculed, right? So
yeah,
I think she was kind of just joking and messing with me, but maybe there was a little undertone of like real, like, yo, like, screw you or whatever. Like, I don't know.
It's a good observation.
Yeah. What was the second part again? Sorry.
Violently opposed.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know. I'm sure for some people it did reach that. I don't know with her, maybe in her nightmares. She didn't speak it to me though in words. So I don't know. But then third, and then it becomes undeniable, right? Something like
Like,
that.
yeah, accepted as being self-evident. Like, what? So in the violently opposed piece, how long did it take to get your business? You're alone, it's just you in the beginning.
Yeah.
It going from people not wanting to do it, and I guess we should unpack what it is exactly you've done, but not wanting to do it, to then it blowing, like, growing and it being accepted as self-evident. That's what I'm curious in the journey. Like, how long did it take to take off? Because I'm thinking that people that listening to this that maybe in that purgatory, in that middle, or like even
Yeah.
I'll be even my own life. Like, I still feel like, I'm not
Yeah.
gotten yet easily. And you could,
Yeah.
critique me. But
No,
yeah,
for sure.
please,
I
I
can see
want
that.
your thoughts on your experience on that.
Well, I think so okay, there's two parts to that. So for you, I would say I think with what you do, unless somebody's a little bit closer to you, they're just and it's actually changing though. And there's something regardless, my thing on that is I think some people would be confused, right? Like what is culture matters? What exactly is that, right? Unless they're like kind of closer to you, right? And but the beauty of that is though that I think it would hopefully draw them in closer to want to find out what that is. And I think actually Authors Unite, the name, and it wasn't all of this, there's way more to it, but part of I think the value of the name is that it perks curiosity. Anybody who wants to be an author that sees Authors Unite, I'm actually wearing it right now for the
Yeah,
video watch.
that's great.
Anybody who sees that wants to be an author or who is an author, I'm almost certain is like, what's that? They're like, I want to look into that, like Authors Unite, like that's something I might want to be a part of, right? And I think it's kind of a strategy when you're naming your company is if you can make it so that the viewer of the brand is curious, that they seek to know more, that's a pretty good name, or brand. Assuming it follows through in every other aspect, right? You don't want to lead people down the wrong path, I guess. But
That's a good point.
yeah, so but yeah, so that's the only thing that I would really say there is that in the beginning, it's not ever that it was necessarily unbelievably denied. It's just that I think I was younger and it almost people were like, this could be bullshit. I actually a mutual friend of ours, and he wouldn't mind saying this. He literally says it in his video testimonial to me.
Really?
Christopher Kai, when me and him first met.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, shout out to Chris.
Great guy. Got to have him on the podcast.
Oh, you did?
No, I'd love to.
Okay. Yeah. That would be, dude, that would be a solid episode. I would like that. But he even says in his testimonial, and it's probably one of the best testimonials because of this, is when he first met me, he like questioned me so much because I think I was like 21 or something when he first met me, and I was a best-selling author. And he's like, I think he was like 40 something. Either way, he was just like, dude, there's no way you're a best-selling author. This is bullshit. Like, am I allowed to curse on this, by the way? Sorry.
Well, what am I going to do?
Okay, sorry.
Believe it or not, it's explicit on the. I was looking, I was like, oh wow, I guess we
Probably because of my episodes. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'll try to monitor that. But what so he says that in his testimonial because he, I guess ridicule would maybe be the word, just kept questioning me in disbelief, like that's bullshit, this is a scam, all these things. But then he ended up having us make his book a bestseller. It was literally maybe 3 weeks after that occurred. Right. And then that's his video testimonial is, hey, this guy's young and I know it seems too good to be true, but the reality is he did exactly what he said he was going to do. And he got my book to bestseller. So that's kind of a cool testimonial, right? Because I guess it shows possible objections or something like that. If you only speak the positive in a testimonial, it's still good. But if you show that you were uncertain as well, then the other person that's viewing that testimonial, I feel maybe feels like a connection towards it. Like, yeah, I'm also on the fence on this. So this is helpful to know that you were in the same place as me. I don't know. So maybe that
you think that would help people understand me better?
Actually, okay. let's go into that. So yes, if I were to, let's say if I were to give a testimonial to you, right? Let's say if I were to do that. And I were to say, look, in the beginning, when me and Jay first connected and he explained culture matters to me, I had no idea what he was talking about. You know?
Wait,
But
is this true? Is this what we were
oh,
going on a
you know
walk?
what? I wouldn't go that far. I would say I know more now, right? But I wouldn't say I was completely clueless. But you know, some of the content that we would talk about, it definitely took me a little while to catch on, I'd say, in some scenarios. So, but if I were to say that and then be like, but after some time, I like was able to fully understand, and then he was able to help my company gain more clarity in our culture, something along those lines. I think that would connect with a lot of potential clients that are considering hiring your company, because maybe they are also confused at first and they need to hear from someone else that was there, and then the transformation that happened.
Do you think I'm making a mistake by not asking people in my life that, that is the case? What I mean is I'm not ever intending to ask anyone that doesn't actually feel they have a constructive view of me to give a constructive view. Like I wouldn't ask someone to lie. But do you think I'm making a mistake by not asking people in my life that have I've had an impact in their life? Because I'm not done that. I don't do that. I've actually told people just to not do that.
Really?
And I'm yeah.
Well, okay, wait. I would say that, I mean, your company does very well. Obviously, everything can improve, but just an example I'm thinking of, there's a company that basically they do what I do, but for podcasts. So how we promote books, they promote podcasts, but they haven't quite figured out their offer and stuff yet. So it's not by any means successful yet. It's very new, like 6 months old. So what I told them, I was just like, well, what if you just reach out to podcasters with a survey and just ask them, like, what do they want? Like if they were to hire somebody like you, what would they want the outcome to be? Gather all that and then create an offer around it. Pretty logical, right?
Great advice.
Yeah. But I think, you're obviously past that dramatically. So it's like, but I still think the feedback would be useful, even if, I mean, no matter how big a company is, you could still, you don't have to take the feedback, so, but it might not hurt having it.
What's been one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in the last decade? It's about a decade now that you've been in business. Yes.
I think it's been, I always say 12 years. So I hope I'm not lying to people when I say it, but I started
when do you define when you started?
I started writing, the book came out when I was like 19, 20. I'm 31 now. Wow. So I'd say like, I've been in the business of books for 12 years, but like running a book publishing company is probably closer to the 10, I would guess. And then Authors Unite is because it was something else before, which we shall never name. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we could talk about that in season 18, episode 97. So, or 900 million. How do you explain to someone that you went to high school with how you're where you're at in your life?
Oh, dude. So that's actually super interesting. And it's very timely because I was just at a friend's bachelor party with all my main guy friends from high school. I was just there like,
wow, really?
And what I have found with it is this is going to be hard to answer because I have not fully like decompressed it, I guess you could say. There is an appreciation from them of the success I have had, but I feel like there is a nervousness from them to ask me for help with anything. Really? And I could be completely wrong. I'm not. So if they ever listen to this, I could be completely wrong. This is just a feeling.
I'll give you a testimony. If you wouldn't have gotten where you are in life without a real adept psychological.
Yeah, I do think I'm
good psychological observer.
Yes. Okay.
And frankly, we wouldn't get along if you weren't.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I am definitely right for anybody listening.
I think so.
Yeah. No, but I just think that, and I always make it very clear to them when and it's not like I'm walking in the room and they're like, yeah, it's not like that, but I do get praise from them privately pretty often. Like, yo, man, just wanted to tell you, like, I think it's awesome what you've been able to do. Like, it's like unbelievable, right? And then this is and I'm just like, dude, just so you know, like you can always reach out. Like I'm happy to help. Like
Mm.
if you ever have questions on like how to start a business or scale a business or whatever it is, and anything like book related, I'm like, ask me anything. We're like family, you know, stuff like that. So, and I never get the questions though. Like, so I don't know why. And that's where I'm at with that. And I don't even know if that answers your question. This is
I mean,
something I thought about though. And
it's
I'm like, why don't you
it's
ask me? I want to help. So weird. So yeah.
did you go to your 10-year reunion?
No, that I missed actually, which I should have gone, but I missed
Was
it.
it intentional or did it just
I think there was just, if I remember correctly, there was something that I did have planned that I could have got out of. It wasn't like a mandatory thing, but I just chose that over that. So I don't know.
to the people that are listening that maybe think it's easier when someone starts gaining traction in their success, when financial, opportunistic, like where one lives. What are some of the things that we may like, unless someone's in your in your shoes, we may not understand there's still problems or there's still difficulties. Like, what do you say to the person that thinks, all right,
Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So I
oh,
really want to answer this. And if I go all over the place too much, just try to help me hone in.
okay,
If you can. But so there's this the rapper singer Pitbull. You ever hear that
yeah,
guy? Okay, so he says there's this quote. I think it's his quote, I think, but might not be. But he said it when I saw it. He says, people that say money doesn't buy happiness haven't given enough away yet. That's what he said. And I do like that because I do notice, and Jordan Peterson kind of talks about this, not necessarily with giving away money, but more just like the feeling of goodness when you know you've helped another person. You know, you almost sometimes, if not all the time, do it selfishly. I think you do it for both reasons. You do it to help the person, but there is also some sort of high that you get when you know
yeah.
something you did or money you gave directly impacted, and you can see the impact it has on that person. It feels good. So part of it is selfish, inevitably, probably. So my point to saying all that is like, the more money I've made, I am just realizing more that the growth thing never ends. Like the idea, like I remember when I was like, once I make 10K a month, I'll be set, I'll be good. And then everything will just be perfect. And then I was like, once I make $1 million a year, I'll be set, I'll be good. Everything will be perfect. And honestly, no matter how high up I get financially, I am never, in fact, it's almost like speeding up. Like I'm almost like the growth
Wow.
that I desire is more than when I was making 10K a month. And I don't even quite necessarily know why. I think there's a couple reasons floating in my mind, although that's not necessarily the question you asked. So I'll leave that later. That's a loop. That's an
I like that too. I want the loop. Here
okay.
we
So,
are.
yeah.
Wagner unplugged.
Yeah.
I mean, Ty,
Yeah.
let me brag for you. I mean, it's not often that I have to get I mean, we've been friends for years. Like that's what I consider you. And I have a wonderful peer group, but how many 30-year-olds do you meet that have accomplished what you've accomplished? Yes, they're out there, but I think, unpack this a bit, because this could take somebody that feels like a loser and maybe give them hope. Like, because I know you were on a couch at one point. Like, that's why this is helpful, because you've accomplished a lot and you've helped a lot of people that have influence, and we'll talk about that. And you did it all on your own. So
Yeah, I think
and
my
you're a pretty
story.
humble guy. Like, you're not I haven't seen you push anybody over on the street.
No, no,
You're not like, you don't wear a Richard Mille or whatever they call that, or what is it,
oh
Richard
no,
Mill?
Mulligan or something. It's not
That's not
Mulligan.
who you are. You're conscientious, you're a saver, you're just good with your money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sounds like a commercial for I want to get you a wife or something.
dude.
Maybe. No,
Love
but
it.
like, yeah. Just so
Just kidding.
so please go on.
Yeah,
You know,
no, I actually
pontificate.
think, you know what's awesome about
We
that is
can
that
unpack it.
I really, and hopefully this shouldn't come off in any ego way, but I do really think my story can give a lot of hope because of the way I did things. I believe, and look, I do think that naturally I am probably above par at like, like you were saying before, like connecting with people and just the gift of gab or
Connecting
whatever
with
you want to
people.
call it. I've definitely come to realize that like I'm a little above average in that category. So I think I have an advantage there, but the way that I built my businesses and everything, I think anybody could do it. Right. And for the introvert, yes, it would be more difficult. You got to get out of your shell or whatever and like really, because the way I did it is just like relationships, like everything. And that's how we're scaling even further. And
Wow.
maybe we'll talk about that of like,
I'd like to, yeah.
we are literally now messaging like over 100,000 people a week. That's how, and I'll go deeper
Well,
into it because it sounds insane. But like the thing is, anybody could build a business like this, meaning all I've done is I built something of value and I found people that have the same customer base. And then my team and I have connected with them at scale. That's literally, and when I say at scale, I mean, we've done millions of reach outs at this point for sure. In our database, we have 40,000 plus partners that like are verified people that either me or my team have directly connected to and built relationship. And whether they've referred or not, there's like an understanding that there's a potential of a referral, right? And, I've done about 2,000 podcasts, over 3,000 clients now with Authors Unite. So you add all this up and it's like, not only the learning you get from connecting with all these people, but just like anybody could do it this way. And you just can't, I don't think you could lose, like there's just so much. If somebody comes to me and is like, hey, I don't know how to do this, how would you do it? If I don't know how to do it, there is damn sure somebody within my 50,000 person network that does,
wow.
And we can go deeper into the detail on that.
Well,
But
I want to start on the 2,000 podcasts. There's people I'm seeing quit, a lot of podcasters I'm seeing, they do a podcast and then they stop like right away. And you're saying you've done 2,000 episodes. Like I know it was a lot,
I actually did
but
two.
can you I'm sorry?
I did two before we hopped on this. So did two yeah.
So what, why first is a podcast even relevant? How about we start with that?
Dude, podcasts, I see zero negatives in a podcast. It's all positive. So, I mean, the relationship building, you could do cross promotion from a marketing standpoint, the learning. My core reason for doing it now is to just learn. Like I'm so curious and I find interviewing is the most interactive, fun way to learn from another person. So you could read their book, which obviously I think is a great idea to do, but it's more interactive if you interview the author, like that's kind of a different angle. So I think that's the thing. And, when I first started the podcast, it was just for fun. Then it turned into like a lead generation thing, as you know. So it's kind of had like an evolution. It was just for fun. Then I got a few clients from it. And then I was like, okay, I'm only going to interview people that could become clients of Authors Unite. And it got very business oriented. And then around episode 1,000, it literally was like exactly 1,000, I think. I woke up and was miserable with it. I was like, I looked at all my interviews that day. I was like, I don't want to do any of these. I hate this podcast. And then I shifted to doing long form, hour long, only interviewing people I really wanted to learn from and that I was curious about. And it had nothing to do with lead generation, but inevitably every once in a while, somebody becomes a
What
client.
year was that?
So, I just checked. So I think February was I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. I wish I could tell you which one, but it was February 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just around halfway because I've done about 2,000. It just clicked for me that this whole lead generation was not why I got into podcasting. I really got into it for fun because I truly enjoy it. and I could see myself doing it when I'm 80. Like I have another idea for a podcast actually, where I want to interview people that are only 70 or above. I think that would be so fun to go into like nursing homes, set up shop, and then just be like,
Great
even if
idea.
all of them together, like 100, and you just talk to all of them and it's all filmed and promoted, and that would just be sick. So either way, that's sidetracked, but that's
Great idea.
and I think you need to know what your intentions are. And sometimes you can get lost with things, and then you realize like, it's not that I hate podcasting, it's just I hate the way I'm doing it.
Did you see an ironic increase in business after you decided not to treat the podcast like that?
Oh yeah. Cause I then focused on like, our lead generation is partnerships. That's how we've grown the business. And that's how I plan to try to reach out to every person out there. That is my true plan. And at 100,000 a week, you could actually accomplish that, I think, if my math is correct.
Yeah, what is that? Like,
I don't know. I haven't done the math, but I think you can. But yeah, so that's the thing, is it's like the podcast was more for fun. The partnership stuff, although I do enjoy those calls, there is a purpose behind that, to have them refer us clients and we refer them clients. Whereas the podcast, literally anybody I'm reaching out to, I do not have like an ulterior motive. I actually, one of them that I just interviewed, he just ended up asking me, it was right before we hopped on this. He was like, dude, I saw what you do. Everybody's been telling me to write a book. And I was just like, cool. Like, we can talk about that another time. Because what I want to do right now is learn about you. That's why I'm having you on, so it's almost like I turn it away because it's not my intention for the podcast. So I don't know, maybe that helps.
I'm curious where the idea came from. Like what was the realization?
What, for the partnerships or podcast?
To do 1,000, that's a tremendous commitment. And then, how did you even do 1,000?
Well, I would do 20 a day in 15-minute slots. That's how I got my first 1,000.
So that's 5 hours?
Yeah, I mean, when I recall it, I feel like it filled up my whole day, but maybe that is.
But that's a lot. 5 hours of intense work is a lot of work.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think I did it from like 12 to 6 or something. But
did you take breaks?
I had 1 hour break for lunch in between somewhere, so that would make sense.
So in essence, would you say that was, you're having 20 sits, like in any sales context, they'll call that like a sit. Maybe it's the difference would be, psychologically, as the person's coming on, they're not necessarily, they haven't been pre-qualified. They haven't like filled out a form or something. But it's, in essence, it's like having 20 sits a day.
Yeah. And that is how I was thinking about it, right? Because it was like, and I didn't measure the exact stats, but just a guess would be maybe like 3 out of 20 would become a client, something like that, which is, if you're doing 20 in a day, that's 3 clients in a day. It's a lot of money at the end of the day. So
wow.
I started to calculate that, and I was just like, well, I should do more. But my formula for it was, I mean, it was somewhat targeted. The people weren't like pre-qualified, like from like a financial standpoint, but they were like my target market, as in like a coach or like entrepreneur. Like we work with a lot of those types of individuals. So that's who we were reaching out to during that time frame. And eventually I just got so sick of it, dude, because I had it was like 6 questions. I asked every person the same 6 questions. And it was so robotic. I would ask, they would answer, and then I would just go to the next question. I wouldn't even give feedback. It was just like, dude. And it was because I knew I had another interview in 12 minutes. Like, I got to go, dude. Answer, hurry up. Next
It's
one.
like speed dating, except like,
and
dude, it's just horrifying. But that was, in your defense, I mean, you were learning as you go. I mean, it's easy for us to laugh at Tyler then, right? Like, we could spend all night laughing at me 10 years ago, like posting selfies on the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to be too hard on young Tyler, right?
Well, I think that like,
what's the advice to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, at the end of the day, I do think that it kind of was the wrong thing to do when you think about it, because my intention, although I wasn't I never like came out and was like, do you want to work with me? But my intention with those maybe, I don't know, 800 people at that time, and I wasn't even doing it. My team was just, I was like, hey, find coaches for me to interview. But my intention was for them to potentially become a client, which it's not really right to invite somebody to do something and say it's about this when it's really about that. So I do think back on that, and I was able to learn from it and be like, okay, the podcast is not about that. The podcast is this. If somebody asked me just by happen chance or whatever, cool, but that's not what it is. So I'm only wanting to interview people that I want to interview. And that's what that is. The partnership stuff is all business, and I separated the two instead of having every activity in the daytime be about business,
And what do you think the outcome of that is? Or the
Oh,
outcomes?
from a happiness level, huge. Because I literally, and that goes back to the original question of like, I agree with Pitbull's thing, but it is definitely not necessarily more money, more happiness by any means. It's, you still need to do things that make you happy. Like if you have 10, $20 million in your bank account and you're shoveling poop all day, you're not happy. Like,
Well, you better love shit.
yeah, or you love shit. So the money, you got to like either use it or still like, you still need to be proactive about doing things that make you happy. That in itself does not do anything. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was pretty life-changing because I almost was questioning of like not doing the podcast anymore.
Really?
Which that would have been, I would have like somehow tricked myself into thinking I didn't like podcasting because I was doing it and what a great way for the universe to smack me back in the face for that, right? Be like, this is your calling, but you were deceiving people. So now you don't get to have it. Like,
wow.
That would be great. So, but luckily I changed, so it's fine.
Well, what do you think? What do you think that's part of the reason people quit on these podcasts? They're not doing them for the right reasons, whether they're aware of it or not.
Yeah. I mean, well, okay. So podcasting is definitely blowing up. And I do think that a lot of people start them with that intention, right? And then they realize, even Joe Rogan says it, and he did it in the perfect timing. I think he says it took him like 10 years before it really took off. And he did it before all the competition was out there, So it's like, if it took him 10 years, it's going to take you 30, so you better really love it. Like it's not going to happen in a couple episodes. So yes, that's probably what it is. Same thing with writing books. I was just on this woman's podcast. I forget what it's called, the Author House or something. And one of the things that I really hate in the industry is this whole idea that the book is the business card. And to be clear, I'm okay with that, as in like, okay, sure, but you shouldn't treat it in a way of like, let me just become an author just because it's the business card. Like the whole idea would actually be that it is the best business card ever, not just a business card, right? Like give it your all and have it be something that when people read it, they're mind blown about your ability and your work, that they like throw the book away and call you immediately, and say, I want to work. But I think there's just a lot of stuff going around where it's like people are doing things to just kind of notch it off their belt. Like, I'm a podcaster, I'm a best-selling author, and then the book's like 20 pages and the podcast has 3 episodes. And it's like, okay, yeah, branding's cool, but sometimes I think branding, it's just taken too far. Like you should still,
I mean, could it be a brand without the work? That's the question comes to me philosophically, is could it be a brand without the work, or is it just noise or colors and paper? Or I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly that. And that's why it is actually really not good for anybody when that happens, because there's so many options out there to choose from now, so many books, so many podcasts, that like, if you're doing any of these artistic activities and not giving it your all, it's just like, I think it's almost wrong or something. Like it's not a lie, like it's not a terrible thing to do, but it's like something in that is not good. It's not good for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's not a good thing. If you're
Why?
going to do a podcast, give it your all. Like those 800 interviews, I didn't give it my all. Like, I didn't even do a real podcast. Like, I just asked people I wanted to become my clients 6 of the same questions over and over again. That's good. Did that help the listeners in any way? Like, did that help the interviewee in any way? Like, probably not. So that's not good. I think the equation needs to be that all parties are winning, not just one. And if you're doing the book in the sense of, here's my business cards and I spent 1 day on it, you're doing like a disjustice to like everybody. So I don't know. I don't know how we got here.
Do you think that 30 days was successful?
Here's why. So has it gotten like the sales and stuff success that we had hoped in the time that we had hoped it? Not yet, right? Like, it hasn't gotten there yet. But there have been people, and I can't remember, there's 2 guys I remember exactly that have literally done Facebook Lives every day for 30 days. So it's like, the answer is yes, but in the tangible, like monetary or copies sold way, it hasn't gotten to that point quite yet. But I think it will. And I think any author you look at, everybody's kind of timeline on that stuff is different. You definitely gave that book your all. Maybe you're a better writer now than you were then. I don't know. I'm sure you are. Everybody gets better as they just keep working. But I still, like, are you proud of that work? I guess that would be the question. If so, then I think it was good. Like, I saw you work your ass off on it.
Thanks. Did you? Do you really think I did?
Dude, do you remember in the beginning?
I would like
it was all written pages in a journal.
I'd rather this show even be like, critique me,
All right.
Right? Like,
let's do it.
because I'll I think even just listening to you talking today, I'm thinking we're idiots. I'll speak for myself. I'm an idiot because I've learned a lot from you. And I think that we've really grown together in a lot of ways. Just listen to what I need to learn more from you, because I tend to hide and you don't. I mean, in it, you have 50,000 people, you're all these partners and people and things. And I just feel like there's 2 sides of the pendulum. As me and Schopenhauer, life is like a pendulum. It swings between pain and boredom. I'm not sure what that means.
I love him.
Yeah.
God, he's the best.
So I do want your thoughts. I have a copy here. Oh
yeah, everybody.
It just fell apart. We got to put this on the. We haven't started.
It looks great. Hire
Everybody
that guy.
that's listening, you may not be able to see this, but the book just fell apart because I've read it or written in it. It just broke. We're gonna start putting these on YouTube. No, that's not your fault. This has been
I'm the publisher. I binded it incorrectly. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
This is actually a hit on the Authors Unite. No. Look, it's got Brad literally put a stamp in the middle of the book.
Oh wow! I remember
that. Right? This copy is like 5 years old, right? I wrote this when I was 27. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, I got the book here, and yeah, I want your thoughts. Like, this is what if we were doing it again, what can I do better? Right? Like, let's use me as the case study. There's so many people. I never met anybody that didn't want to write a book. I've never met anyone that didn't want to write a book. I did physically write it, and Jenna, my fiance, edited it, and you published it and we were a team.
Yeah.
And I haven't done you enough honor telling anybody about it. And please don't take it personally. That's my issue. I don't tell anybody anything. And so I'd like your, so what could, and I'll talk about how this book, wait, I need to answer your question. Dude, I'm definitely proud of the book.
Yeah.
And some of the relationships that are in my life are in it because of the book.
Oh, great.
And Culture Matters is where it's today because I wrote this book. Culture Matters is a multi-million-dollar organization because of this book.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
That's a testimony for
Yeah, I
Tyler
was
Wagner.
gonna clip that.
Our relationship, okay, made
Yeah.
this book. This book is our baby.
It is.
Like you, me, and Jenna. That's a little creepy.
Beautiful.
I got it
Baby.
because she edited it, obviously, right?
Yeah.
No. So that's my testimonial. Would I have done it? Listen, I did it with you because you're my buddy.
Yeah.
And that's not why. You have a passion for this, for what you do. And you believed in me when many ridiculed me. Now that I think about it, I picked that subconsciously, that quote, and opposed what I had to say. And I still don't believe that I'm instantiated in the market as the go-to advisor on culture, and that's on me. And that's why I like criticism. Like, what do I need to do? Right? How should I next time around? Because there's like multiple books that are laying around the hat, like literally in the closet. The books are done. The content's there.
Yeah,
I want your criticism. Let's coach me on this and show people they need to hire your company if they're interested in a book.
Well, yeah. So, and you actually kind of alluded, or you literally said it, is that although I think you did tell some people about it when it came out, but we did not. And so there's a couple things here, right? I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this first part, but I do think when we launched it, we basically kind of just did it. There wasn't really like a marketing budget. Is that correct? Or am I wrong on this? We didn't.
No, we didn't put any money behind it.
Okay, perfect.
Oh.
So, okay, when we do your next books, assuming, and I think we'll do them together. So I'm making an assumption on a recording, but assuming we do them together, my recommendation would be that due to the marketing capabilities that my company has, that we put some budget behind it, and we do like a big campaign in the beginning to get it in a lot of hands. If it hits a bestseller list, great, but it's every single thing, and this is what I think every author needs to hear. Every single marketing activity that you do for a book, the end goal is just to get it in somebody's hand. That's all it is. Whether you give it away for free, whether it's 99 cents, it really does not matter. The whole idea is that you get it in enough hands. And this is assuming that the book is remarkable enough that when somebody reads it, they'll share it with somebody. So that has to be assumed, right, for this to work. But assuming that's the case, then we need to get it in enough hands so that people read it and then they tell their friends about it, and then it has a life of its own. And there are some activities that with the 3,000 plus books I've done, I know the exact formula to do that. But obviously the book needs to be very well written. And one thing I've learned too is, if possible, the title should have controversy in it. For example, I think a guy that one of our clients, Dr. John J. Quiche, do you know the X3 bar guy?
Yeah, the guy that, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So his book is absolutely crushing it. Like, I don't know the exact, it's at least hundreds of thousands sold, maybe millions. Like, so, and I do not, we helped him with the Wall Street bestseller campaign. I don't take full credit for all, he already has a huge audience, but I think the reason we helped him in the beginning, he got, I forget what it was, like 10, 15,000 sales, hits Wall Street Journal. The title is "Weightlifting is a Waste of Time."
That's a great title.
Right? So, and it literally,
oh my God, I got it. Culture is a waste of money.
Yeah, something like that, dude. Something.
No, but I really actually feel that way, because how people talk about culture generally just creates a lot of issues in companies, because they make all these words up and then they use them against each other.
Oh, perfect.
That's what I've learned in the field, working with companies, trying to fix what somebody else messed up that came in to help them with the culture. So culture doesn't work. It doesn't. If it doesn't, no, I mean, you just gave me that idea. It's like, that's what I see every day. I just gotta have this conversation with you.
Yes.
It's like a live coaching call. We should fucking do this.
Dude, it's an amazing
idea.
Yeah, no, that's what it is, right?
It doesn't work.
Yeah, dude, imagine you give this book to all these fitness trainers, right? Weightlifting is a waste of time. Here you go. Now be silent over there. Don't tell me your feelings about it.
But wait, I'm sure that his point is that he has a philosophy of what works, what doesn't work, just like I have my own philosophy of what works for culture. That's my guess.
Now, here's the thing, right? And I can't remember where I read this because, well, you've read more books than I have, but I've read enough that I forget where I've read certain things. And there's this thing, it's like the laws or rules of copywriting. And what it says is there's only one goal of every part of like a newsletter, right? The goal of the subject line is to get them to open the email. The goal of the first sentence is to get them to read the second sentence. And then that is so on all the way until the last sentence. So the same, I think, goes with a book, but not necessarily for every sentence, because that would be a wild way to write a book. Like, hey, I'm writing this sentence. So
well, I think great writing likely does that naturally, transcendentally in a way.
I agree.
That would be my guess.
But I think if you were thinking about that,
like, why the hell do I want to still read War and Peace? Right? It's like over here in the corner. I'm on page 52 or something. Because it's Leo Tolstoy, bro. I like want to start reading it now. You just like start reading. Dude, can you see some of the books? I am just interrupting you like crazy. I want to talk about some of the books at some point. I got next.
Oh, let's do it.
Wait, but I interrupted you. Please.
No, you're good. So all I'm saying is, I think like if we could go back, right? Like, let's just say your next book. Here's what we would do together. Is we would brainstorm more on the title so that it perks curiosity and it also maybe causes controversy. It needs to do something that when somebody sees it, they're like triggered in some way. It doesn't have to be like a negative trigger, like but it just needs to be some sort of head turn or something. The idea being that it makes them want to open the book or tell someone else about it. Secondly, we put together a budget, right? And in that budget, the goal is to
100,000.
100,000 we could do a lot of damage with 100,000. Yeah, that would
like
be perfect.
What's the minimum and what's too much?
That's a cool question.
I mean, thanks. I'll take that as a compliment. But what's the minimum? What's too much?
I think I'm just calculating what my costs and stuff. I think minimum you'd want to do, minimum you'd actually want to do about 100,000. That's truly, if you really want, if it's like the book you're going all in on and you want to truly have a chance of like full success, 100,000 is minimum. Too much would be like 1 million. I don't think that's necessary. I think.
What about 999,000? 99.
Send the wire. Let's go, baby. I can make that work any day.
You charlatan.
Hold on. Let me give you guys my wire.
Yeah, let's Google. You know, he's gonna be a documentary. What is that thing? We work or we something.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You're the FTX of authorship. We'll have to talk. We still have to talk about pop culture, but we'll get to that. We have plenty of time. So wait, 100 grand.
And here's what that
million's too much.
Yeah. And just, here's what that would go to. So it would go to a big initial launch, which is mostly email list marketing, the way we do it. And then it would go to one of my partners that I refer to a lot. He helps people get Amazon reviews. He has this huge, tens, I shouldn't say huge, like tens of thousands, it's kind of big, of people that just love reading books and leaving reviews. If you've ever been on Amazon and seen like the top reviewers, he's basically just so genius. Takes a lot of work, but something I would have done is he literally just found people on Goodreads and Amazon that leave reviews a lot and said, hey, if I can get you free books, would you be willing to leave reviews? And he built up a database of 20,000 of these people. That's what the guy did. And his name is Matt. Awesome guy.
Holy moly.
And so basically you pay him a fee and then he gets your book in front of these people and then they review it. Right. So, and he can basically do, I think like I think the most we've done with him is like somebody got like 5,000 reviews. So you can do a lot. Now here's the thing. Okay. It has the big initial hit. Over 1,000, I think, is the mark. We want to get at least 1,000 reviews because once you have over 1,000 reviews, the trust is built on that page, right? Assuming they're good reviews, which you can't, even with his, so you can't guarantee they're going to be good reviews. These are real, well thought out reviewers, dude. So if you don't have a good book, do not get this guy's service because it could ruin your
I was going to ask how important is, well, I would think that, like, I was going to ask that about the integrity of the
Oh, that's important. So you want, I mean, so
So
it's
if your
about,
book is not written well,
then do not do that. Yeah. No, these are like, if you've been on Amazon and you've seen like the people that are top review, that's like what they do. Like, I don't know how they make money, but that's what they do all day long is they
wow.
review things. So, okay. So we would initial hit 1,000+ reviews, and then consistently you have PR and Amazon ads running, right? And what'll happen is when you have over 1,000 reviews, the Amazon ads conversion rate will be through the roof. Like, people try to run Amazon ads on stuff that has like 5 reviews. Doesn't work. There's not going to convert.
Wow.
How could that work? So you want to get
You're right, because I own 3,644 books on Audible,
Okay.
and I buy the ones that are highly reviewed. I mean, that's
Dude,
psychology 101.
it is. Yeah.
If a book is low reviewed, like low, I'm listening to so many books and buying so many books. It's like I'm a hyper user of Audible, right? Like I've listened to over 10,000 hours of audio since 2015 on my account.
Yeah.
Over 10,000 hours. So I should think about more like what I'm like. I know a lot about Audible because I'm a consumer of it on such a crazy level. Like, I'm really upset that they don't have more badges and things. Like, I feel so let down by Audible as a consumer. Anyway, I'm going into a distortion video
That's
right now.
funny.
Yeah.
Dude,
Like, I'm so triggered by that because I'm such an obsessor. I've spent, you know, 50, 60, $70,000 on audiobooks. And that's a lot, in my opinion, on audiobooks over the,
more
you
than
know,
most.
so I'm like, and I like to buy them. I like to own them. I have pride in owning them. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to get them for free. What kind of advisor would I be if I tried to get education for free when I'm asking people for money?
Totally.
So I take that very seriously. So I just want to edify what you're saying about the importance of the reviews, because as a consumer, and also we buy I have 2,000 some odd physical books in my house. Like, if a book has a low review, even if it's like a famous book, you still think, well, famous books don't have them a lot of the times because they have high reviews. I mean, culture's tested. Anyway, go. So wait. Let me make sure I'm following you correctly. The title matters more than we might think.
Yeah. Content matters most, right? So that's number one.
Oh,
That's
shit.
right. So like the book needs to be, I like how
That
Godin said
content.
it. The book needs to be remarkable. And what that means is when somebody reads it, it needs to be worth remarking upon. That's what Seth Godin says. I like that guy. So that's what it should be.
Great advice.
Best book you could ever write. That good title, good cover. The title is not just good, but it like causes emotion or something from somebody, like controversy or curiosity, gets them to turn their head, right? And then big launch, and then reviews, and then on a consistent basis, PR and Amazon ads. And that's really, and then in a couple of years, the book will be in hundreds of thousands of people's hands from those actions. And then if it is meant to take off, it will. And if it is not, then you write your next book and try again. That's it.
Didn't you have some level of influence over some Bezos letters, like this famous book? I've read it too.
Yeah. It's called the Bezos letters. By the Andersons. They work, or I don't know if they still do, but with Morgan James. And actually, that is how the whole partnership method I was talking about earlier started, because he was one of the publishers that I realized was referring me so much business. And I was like, oh my God, I just need to partner with more people like this. Wow. Right. So Morgan James is actually a big part of my story. They're like one of my favorite publishers. But yeah, that Bezos letters book is awesome. And I think that has like 500-600 reviews now. So doing very well, but it needs to get 1,000+ is my recommendation for that.
How important is it to, as an entrepreneur, be open and learning, I guess, to pivoting, to redefining what's worked?
Oh, you got to be open to that all the time. I've pivoted so many times. Like, my business actually started out as a coaching business. So I when I launched my book, people started asking me how I did it. And I was like, oh, there's something here. I'll turn this into a business. And I started coaching people one-on-one. It didn't scale. I was getting texts at like 2 a.m. and like, it was crazy. And then I stopped all that,
Wow.
didn't do any more coaching. And not to say that you can't scale coaching, you certainly can. It's just, I think I was just scarred from it. So I was like, no more coaching. And I actually enjoy it from a scaling point of view. I didn't know how to do it. So we do done for you high ticket and then courses low ticket. And both of them, done for you, just hire more people. And then as it scales, and then courses, you don't have to do anything, right? When people buy those. So
What do you think is the value of 30 days of thought? Why do you think those guys were doing it?
Sorry, bad time to take a drink.
No, that's all right.
So the value of 30 days of thought and why I think they were enjoying it. I think because, and actually, whoa, okay. So this actually goes back to where we kind of started. And you want like critiques, right?
I definitely, dude, I need help, because if I really am on, dude,
Okay.
I have let a lot of people down by
Okay.
not talking about my work, what I do, what I have to offer. And it makes me sad a little.
Mhm.
Now, I want to add to that simultaneously, there's a handful of people, persons in varying field sectors, that have given myself and now our team the opportunity to serve them. And fundamentally, what's most important to me as a person is the opportunity to serve, to be proud of who I am. And a big part of that is tied to what I do and how I help people, because of how little esteem that I have in my own self. Like, pride of what I do and the opportunity to do it is so important to me. In the last 5 years after the book, which has been a really big help, not only for me writing, but for the people that attracted to me, and to our team, our growing team, being able to work and do the work. And everyone's business is different, like the value they provide to customers, right? And in our business, it's a very personal business, and it takes a lot of intention and relation, and it's long and depth. So so that's important, but there's no reason why I in theory couldn't have continued to tell people that the book existed, for example, or so I want to be honest about that and self-aware about that, and I want to get help from you. But I could have I feel like in some level, because it's all relative, like I'd put me in that category of your friends that's not asking you for help without even realizing I'm not.
Wow, I didn't even realize it kind of either, actually.
I didn't realize it till right now. That's why we're talking. You
Yeah.
no, like, yeah, like
The 31st
ultimately,
thought.
you've given me a lot of value in our friendship over the years, and our working relationship. And my hope would be that there's a level of mutuality there.
Yeah.
But at some level, so that's why I want to know, what do you think? Like, should I look at 30 days of thought and say, all right, it is what it is. It helped who it helped, and not talk about it again and just focus on these next books? Or should I talk about, like, I'm looking at one of these excerpts, getting stuck, right? Like, at some level, I feel stuck at some level, right?
Yeah.
Lost in translation and stuck in first gear when the mechanisms work, but the operators don't. That's me. Like, I'm reading the first sentence, like, well, that's me right now. How often have we been perfect for the job, yet stuck in gears of life? We feel jammed in what is possible and what is facing us. That's fitting.
I think it's very well written. And I would say, actually, here's what I would compare, right? So, and hopefully Yeah, I feel comfortable saying that. So it's like, okay, let's look at Jordan Peterson, right? Maps of meaning. Would we say that before the 12 rules for life was maps of meaning like a success as far as like sales and stuff goes? It wasn't at that level.
No.
Yeah.
I even saw it years and years ago, and
Yeah.
I didn't buy it because I didn't like this was way before he became famous. I remember looking for
Yeah.
culture books. Sorry, but I'm saying I even saw that book once and I didn't buy it
Yeah.
years ago.
So, but now true Jordan Peterson fans are buying that book. And it's almost like a badge of honor almost if you have it, because you know it's just like it's just such a
It's right here.
yeah, like my copy, oh, I don't have it with me here, but I do have a copy.
Dude,
Yeah, it's just, so
go
I
ahead.
think
Sorry.
that's how I
So,
would view 30 Days of Thought, is that I think that like one of the next books that you do is gonna hit really big in that way. And then people will be like Jay Doran, I like him, the author, right? And then they will go back and buy those books and they will take off. Like 30 Days of Thought.
you
So
really think that?
I do. Yeah, I do. Because I believe in the writing of 30 Days of Thought. I just think at the time of my knowledge of the book space, a lot of different variables. Like again, we did it with no budget, right? So for no budget, didn't do
No,
too
but
bad.
we
Like,
did it with. There's a community of people that bought it, like
yeah,
hundreds. It didn't. Most, I know the statistics. You've been better than me, but very few books sell 1,000 copies.
true. Yeah, I
And
think
and
most
there's a
don't.
small community of people that I worked really hard body to body. No, the reason we didn't have a budget was, remember how I've
Oh, we
changed my philosophy on this.
100%.
I was so against I was so against paying for like the idea. Like I wanted people to, I know what it was. And maybe this could relate to authors.
Yeah.
I want people to accept me. I want
Yeah.
people to accept me. So I feel like if I put a marketing budget behind it, I'm
Yeah.
lying.
I know.
Meaning they're not accepting me.
I know.
They don't accept. So I'm taking the book too serious. I need a fucking journal. I need a therapist. I don't need the book to justify who I am as a person. So what I'm saying was I basically didn't put the means behind the book because I was being like the struggling artist or something. The world has to accept me for me. You know what I'm saying?
100%,
And
man.
that's why the book wasn't put in front of people. Now, who did get it? There are people that used it, meaning some people that are listening don't even know what that means. They read every day you read an excerpt. So I was reading earlier, you read a page. And the purpose is to think your own thoughts. On the next page, you can write your own thoughts in the book. And then there's a call to action. Dennis, you gave us, shout out to Dennis.
No, Dennis.
To film a video and put it on Facebook. So read to think, write to develop, speak to let go. Like there was read, write, speak. And this was before I learned that listening was a good idea. When I had enough arguments with my fiance, I figured out, oh shit, I need to listen. There you go. We added the listening. So read, write, speak, right? Read, write, speak. It was like, that's where I was at in my journey of self-development. And so there's people that did the book, and some of them we've been working with since the day ever since.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Client partners.
Yeah.
We don't use the word partner lightly in this company. So we've been working ever since. And grown and like I do long-term, if I can. I mean, obviously you don't want to hijack someone's life or you never let them leave. But there's a natural or evolution to relationships. But if you have a need, if there's a need and there's a will and there's an idea and there's labor, like you can solve it, right? So anyway,
Well,
and that's a realization that I want to make sure I share with not only you, with you and the audience. I think the reason that I was so against putting something behind it, and not 100,000, but even 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000, it would have been $1 or a penny. I didn't want to do it. And the reason I think I didn't want to do it, I didn't know this then, because I wanted people to accept me.
Yeah.
And I thought if I paid if I invested, because if I marketed the book with money, I'd be buying false appreciation. And I don't think that's actually, it can be true, but I don't think it's the truth. And I wouldn't listen to you. I know, I apologize. I'm like one of those terrible clients. Like generally with a lot of people, like my attorney already has learned this, and I have to apologize. I'm sending him a letter. I don't listen. You know, I've done this to my mother too. That's why I call her now and I talk to her and I do listen to her. But like, I don't listen for 5 years and then I realize, oh, they were right, and then I call. So I apologize. I should tell you that now. You know, I'm like a terrible client in that one. Because 5 years later, I figure out, oh shit, I'm just steamrolling time.
Well, I think, dude, what's cool about that is, okay, so I've actually talked to people, I think it was recently, this one guy where his books have not done too well, but he thinks he's a very good writer. Obviously, I will leave this person nameless, but he thinks he's a very good writer. He's written a lot of books and none of them have done well. And then I asked him, I'm like, well, what have you done for marketing? And he's like, no, I'm good enough. Like, I don't need marketing. I'm a good enough writer. And I was like, all right, there's some sort of delusion going on here. Like, I don't know what that is, but I think that's actually kind of what you were, is that kind of what you were saying, or is it different than
Yeah, that? Like, dude, I'm telling you right now, Nietzsche, I love Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah.
We're reading about him now in 2023 and not when he died in 1890, not when he was born in 1844, or, you know, he started writing in he got he got his PhD given to him without doing the dissertation at 24 years old. Okay, so this would have been in the 1870s, or no, 1868, whatever. The point is, yeah. The point is,
I keep spitting.
Nietzsche.
I don't know why.
I bring up Nietzsche because the people that feel that way, if they really are profound, they don't get read until they're dead. You could tell him that guy. That's your objection handler. You don't get read until you're dead. Because the more profound you are, if the frame isn't right, you become a martyr. I call it inverted value theory. It's like, you ever tell somebody really close to you the truth?
No.
Well, that's the problem, buddy.
I know. I'm avoiding conflict.
Let me give you some truth for that then. No, let me focus on the task at hand. I'm not gonna address you here. No. Maybe one time you did, and maybe it was so painful for them, the pain came back times 2, times 10 to you. The brain works backwards. It's like the more important, the more honest, it hurts the other person, and then it comes back to you, unless you've written a book, they don't know you, you're on the stage, you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
The people that are closest to us, the truth hurts so bad, we can't hear them and we'll kill them. Psychologically.
Yeah.
But someone that we perceive as above us, we'll take that information. We've given them the permission to be above us. We've submitted our ego or our defense, and we give it. So now there's a beauty in that. You know, I can pontificate all day long with that. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think there's something like I read a lot about this. I'm holding the statue. Nietzsche, right? This troubled, and that's I think part of why I have a lot of attachment, and not just me, a lot of people, because he's the troubled, you know, he feels unheard, and in the time that he lived, no one, you know, they didn't get it, and but like now we're reading him hundreds of years later. And I think the reason I felt the way, and I don't want to speak for that gentleman that you're talking about, but if the work is being done as a psychological anesthesia to unaddressed pain, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for one to put oneself out there. It's like, and ironically, one is not doing what part of the process to be taken seriously before the crowd. So either way, I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to participate in culture. And I know we've gone kind of down a rabbit hole. You were saying something, or I was asking, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the one thing I was going to say, the other side to it is like, now look, I do want to be clear that like you could totally have a book become successful actually without a budget, but you'd have to put a shit ton of time in, right? Like I said, the whole goal is getting it into as many hands as possible. So, and having them actually read it, right? So not just literally delivering it into a hand. So I'm just saying you could do that without a budget. It would take so much time, and your pay grade is worth more than that. So like you should just do the budget.
Well, and even regardless of anyone's pay grade, money and time, how are they inseparable from each other? So I think I like your point either way. I think I like it.
Yeah. So like, and
I couldn't think though in those terms then. I wasn't emotionally aware enough to hear your advice.
Yeah.
Because I was so attached to getting, you know what I'm saying? So it's something to keep in mind. Like, and maybe that guy is going through the same thing that I was going through.
Oh my God. Actually, off air, I will tell you we'll talk about it.
Yeah, maybe we get help him. I mean,
I know.
that's the whole thing is like, let's use my screw up. Because I look at it as a mistake. You know, I'm okay with looking at the past and saying, I regret acting like an infantile in this scenario, or being cruel to this person, or not asking enough questions. Like, I'm okay with that. If my mistake or misgiving, can become something helpful for someone else, that's a good way to cope. So
well, okay. And two, you said, and I'm just curious, maybe you would retract a little, or maybe you'd go further. So you said the book had a lot to do with the business growing and stuff like that. Like if you were to attempt to calculate the value of the book for the business, I would venture to guess that like it was way more than $100,000, right? So I think that like how I try to think about this stuff,
and I would say many times greater, because I can't see. All right, let's go with earlier the conversation. The work that we do is not. It's very complicated. It's personal. Architecting a culture from scratch is a multi-year, multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary topic. And yeah, I've always struggled with people generally like either not trusting, like me specifically as a person, like why would Jay even, who is this guy to either know this, or why would he be interested in helping me? Like, this is the feedback I've gotten from people. One guy, I've been told like, yeah, at first I thought you were trying to sell me into a cult. Like, so I believe the book because it's attracted a certain type of person that the book is such a reflection of who I am as a person. The process of using the book, like someone reading one of the excerpts, the essays, and then writing their thoughts in it, and then filming a video or not, but going through that process of where they're at. If they're interested in that, they're gonna be attracted to me as a person. And the services that our organization provides for company cultures, for organizations, is a reflection of who, the people that work in and within it. And I'm the founder of one of those people, right? Mm-hmm. So if anything, just like, it becomes a filter for who may want to participate in a personal, long-term engagement with an advisory firm, with a professional firm, right? With a consulting firm, to have that experience. So yeah, I now of course I think the return for anyone will be proportionate to all these things we talked about, the value of the content, whose hands it gets into, what they're able to do after the opportunity. Like there's so many things
There's a lot of
that our
variables.
firm provides that is not like, we don't put it to the public because we're not doing B2C at scale. Like there's no low ticket course
Yeah.
intentionally with what we do and why we do it and how we do it at this stage as a firm. It's only, and it's not even arguably just high ticket, it's personal, confidential service, and like I said, multidisciplinary and multi-approach. So, you're talking about going inside an organization and building it from the inside out and hitting every single, it's so personalized. Everything's so personalized. I'll never do the same thing twice, in the sense, if I shadow the operating principle of an organization, I'm writing an entire book about them. That's one of the deliverables that presupposes service. I've written multiple books in a year that were never published because they're books for the client. Now, that's not something that I've talked about on any of these podcasts. But I've written many books. They're just not published. They're personal for the people. To me, it's I can write very quickly and get my point across. Like I wrote 67 letters last month, personal letters to people that I care about.
Oh yeah, I think I was one of them.
Well, I care about you, you fuck.
Yeah, dude, that's
Like
sick.
so
Okay.
so I do that. Like my mother, my biological mother, Linda, that's where this all started. She used to write me letters when I was 4 or 5 years old. I haven't seen her since I was 5 or something. She used to write me letters. So I thought, and I found them a couple of years ago when I was looking through these files, and I started reading these letters that my mother wrote me. I have 2 mothers, Linda and Barbara. Linda is my biological mother, Barbara is my adopted mother. And Linda would write me these letters. So I thought, about 2.5 months, 2 months ago, I thought, I'm going to start writing people letters the way my mother wrote me. So I wrote 67 letters the first month I did it. And I've just been writing a letter. If I write a letter every day, I mean, there's a lot of people I'm trying to tell that I care about them. I'm even writing letters to people I don't like, and focusing on the positive. Yeah. And I'm doing it because Linda did it for me, and because I'm trying to gain clarity and self-worth and esteem. And I need to be more vocal, and I need to take Tyler's advice from 5-6 years ago and put myself out there more. And I'm growing. I'm trying to. So there's a lot of writing. There hasn't been a lot of publishing or marketing.
Yeah.
And by the way, the books that I'm alluding to, these are personal, confidential things, about whatever subject matter that we've been engaged with by an organization. So that they'll never be published. Those are totally personal. I'm just giving, a sense of why, for example, we haven't published 6 more books in the last 5 years, because I've been, working like in the field but I've got to figure out how to juggle these 2 things, because it would make a lot of sense. For example, one thing I figured out in the last 5 years, like what you said, culture doesn't work. It doesn't work if it's words on the wall that are then used against people. Oh, you're not doing that value. Oh, you're not doing that. Like that's what happens in companies. Oh, you're not living this, or you're not doing this. And then the values become weapons. It becomes like, so like I can write a whole book about how culture doesn't work. If you do this, you do that. You don't do this, you don't do that. Culture doesn't work if you use the value you want someone else to live against them instead of just acting it out. Forgiveness doesn't work if you're waiting for the other person to forgive you. So anyway, I'm just like, what a great conversation. I'm just like so excited about this right now.
I think that's your pivot, right? So as we were talking about pivots, is like, so for me, right? It's funny too. And that's why we're doing so much messaging, is I finally stopped trying to do all these other things. Like, so the partnerships work for growing our company. So I was like, okay, that's working. Let's try Facebook ads again. Still didn't work. So I'm like, okay, you know what? this works. I am going to only do this for marketing until it stops working. So my point is, if you're saying that that book helped grow your business, then that is where the marketing budget should go, because it's been proven to work and it's going to continue to work. For me, it's partnerships, right? And obviously, the first book I wrote, I never would have started Authors Unite without that. But me marketing that book is not necessarily going to help Authors Unite now. It has like zero relevance to.
No, that makes it, you've grown so much.
Yeah. Like, but if you're saying, like, if you were to look at everything you've done, and if you say,
Well, I'd have to do an update, a revised edition where I added listen to hear what is unsaid, just to make that clear, because at the beginning of this podcast, how I said, listen to hear what is unsaid.
Yeah.
I'd also, anyway, no, I follow your train of thought completely. I think we just unpack that. You're saying I shouldn't just give up on 30 Days of Thought. It's helped people and I could help more, but I wasn't open before to sharing that with people.
Yeah. And the next book, I think, that we plan properly and really try to, and look, it doesn't have to be 100K. It could be anything, but I think we actually come up with a plan that we can both look at each other and be like, hey, this plan will give this book a real chance, and that's what I think I would feel good sleeping at night, knowing that, because I think your writing is that good that it's like, if the next book we can't agree that it's going to at least get in 100,000 hands, then we need to redo the marketing plan. Like it's not it, so, and again, there's a million. That's why I love marketing, is it's limitless. There's so many ways.
What do you think the reason that Maps of Meaning didn't do well?
Oh, okay. Well,
in the past, I wanted to get into that. We got excited.
It kind of might be. Well, let me just equate it to 30 Days of Thought in a sense, right? Like, some of the passages in 30 Days of Thought are, they're a little complex, right? I mean, it's not the most simple read in the world, right? And like Maps of Meaning is definitely not the most simple read in the world. That book is complicated, at least to me it is.
It is a difficult book.
Yeah,
it's a difficult book. Maps of Meaning.
It's so funny.
It's a difficult. It was an undergrad. I think it was I don't know if it was an undergrad elective or if it was I don't know if it was undergrad or post-grad work, but it's not an easy class. It was a class for Jordan Peterson used to teach. If anyone's listening to this that doesn't know who Jordan Peterson is, I'm sorry.
At this point, you're screwed.
I would go on the YouTube. He has fantastic lecture. I'm not going to explain him. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. 12 Rules for Life. He's not as what some people say is. He's a decent man. But he had a class. He was a teacher, and this was a class. This Maps of Meaning was a college class. So there's a certain level of
about that.
Like anything, if you don't know algebra, I don't know what you can do after that kind of thing. You kind of get lost with the math people, right?
Yeah.
So it's not an easy book.
Yeah. So I think that could be why, whereas like 12 Rules for Life, there is at least in comparison to Maps of Meaning, it's definitely an easier read. I wouldn't say it's the easiest read. Jordan Peterson analyzes things and like goes in detail, like very deeply on a lot of stuff. So it is not an easy read, but the title is very clear on what it is: 12 Rules for Life. And I think that the clarity in that really helped it travel. Plus, obviously, the actual content is impacting people's lives. Whereas Maps of Meaning, and again, I don't know where I got to. I probably got, halfway or something through it. And I would not venture to say I understand exactly what he is saying in that book. I'm just going to.
No, I should read like a passage here on page 342.
Yeah.
The individual who turns away from indications of his own insufficiency increases the probability that he will seek to repress and destroy all information that indicates threat to current belief. Avoided, suppressed, or otherwise undeveloped elements of personality are not accessible for use in conscious adaptation will in fact offer resistance to such adaptation as a consequence of their resentment at being twisted and ignored. Failure to utilize full human potential severely undermines strength of individual character. Disassociation of action, imagination, and ideation weakens personality. Weakness of personality means inability to bear the weight of the conscious world, the result of the hypocritical suppression of individual differences in the service of the social unit and its intrapsychic representative, its frailty in the face of the unknown. That's like one paragraph. I mean, it's going to take some prerequisite classes to get maps of meaning. I just want to be clear. I'm reading Maps of Meaning, not my book. Maps of Meaning is a textbook basically for his theory.
And now wait, tell me this, because it's funny. A girl that we both know that used to be in my life and she's not anymore. She actually read that book on my bedside table. And she explained it to me like this. And well, I shouldn't say she deeply read the whole thing. I think she sped read it, which is insane to even actually think that somebody could speed read that. But this is what she said is basically the book is it kind of traces back where a lot of big beliefs in our culture have come from, right? And a lot of them, like where they started and how they traveled, and then how that belief has gotten here, how it's changed and unraveled. Is that kind of what that book is about?
No, I think she should have read it more slowly. I think we're past tense with this person. Let's move on. Thank you. No, hey. I mean, I'm truly not knocking the person. No, I think that's incorrect, I would argue. of the thesis. I would say that's incorrect. I would urge the person to slow down because they are very intelligent, I think, or intelligent enough.
Agree.
I would urge them to take the class on YouTube and to read it again. But of course, remember, I am responding to your interpretation of said individual. So let's just move on. Order of the court. Yeah. Okay. So I love to see what people think of this episode. It's like never before seen. No, but I guess like the first sentence of the book, though, of Maps Meaning, like, dude, this was grabbed me. This is the first page. Something we cannot see protects us from something we do not understand. The thing we cannot see is culture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just thought that was like common, and it's just a cool. This is a great. It's a worthwhile endeavor for someone that's interested in self-help, like betterment of themselves, a cultural understanding, human understanding. Jordan Peterson's just what a good professor.
So there is another part of the equation that I'm just realizing, right? So I think that book is remarkable, right? Like when somebody reads even a paragraph of it, at least the way my brain works is like, if you hadn't heard of that book and I read a paragraph, the first person I would think of is you, and you'd be like, dude, you got to read this thing and then tell me what he is actually meaning, because I can't understand it, but I know it's intelligent, right? Like that's something I would do. So it's remarkable enough to share, but I don't know if it's for the masses, right? Which is maybe why it didn't take off. And not to say it's not for, my language is important there. What I mean is like, I don't know if it's capable of the masses taking it and spreading it, whereas 12 Rules for Life, 12 Rules for Life is simplified enough that the masses can spread it, right? And I'm not trying to say that people are not intelligent. I'm just saying, like, even I don't understand. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person.
No, it's not necessarily about intelligence with a lot of things. It's exposure.
Yeah.
That's why even the most brilliant people that have roamed the earth, they didn't skip. Here's an example. I read a book last year about a guy named William James Sidis, Sidis.
Yeah.
His father was best friends with William James, the founder of psychology and the philosopher. His
Oh,
father's
wow.
name is Boris Sidis. He's an author. I got books. Actually, I got one of his books right here. I haven't read. His father's book was called The Psychology of Suggestion. He was a pioneer of psychology. His son, William James Sidis, the book is called Prodigy. It's on Audible as well. He was referenced in the book. He was a prodigy. He could speak 40 languages. He was the youngest person to ever go to college. He was a kid, like the fastest. But even he didn't. He was born with these gifts. Even he didn't just. Even he went to college, regardless of the age he went. Like
Yeah.
there's limits to things. Whatever people are gifted with innately, it's like a cup, right? You could have this water bottle is this big. You could have a bucket 5 times the size. See how much water is in this water bottle? Is a little bit. If the bucket has the same amount of water than this, then we're equal.
Great way to.
Our content exposure, our lived experience is the water. Like I work like I am an idiot. To look to like I pursue knowledge as if I am an idiot. It makes me think of Dostoevsky's book, The Idiot. By the way, Dostoevsky's book, The Idiot. God, this is one of the best books that I've never finished. I start books and never finish them. This is one of the. It's like, I have my whole life to read this book. It's such a profound book, and I'm still piecemealing together what he's trying to say, and I won't even try to give an explanation because I'm not. But God, it's such a well-written book, The Idiot. But basically, I think it's about a guy that's so brutally honest. People just think he's an idiot, but that's where I'm at. Maybe I'm an idiot, and that's the thing. I don't have the content yet, the exposure yet, with the substance to even really formulate. And then everything I have read before, and then everything I'm going to read in the future will metamorphosize how I think through this.
We
The
talked about
author's
that
note.
before.
Yeah, it's like,
I remember.
so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, some people could skip all the classes and go right to the end. Okay, great. But what about you? What about me? Maybe we just need to pay attention. We need to go to the class. We need to take the class and we can get to the next class. Like, does it really matter if we have to take all the classes to get to the end? But like, we're not all starting at the same pace is the point. Like,
True, yeah.
I have read Maps of Meaning again, not the whole thing, but I've read it again, like after reading, and listening to a few hundred other books, and I feel smarter. I feel like I know a lot more of the words, and I'm thinking you're just putting the it's like, here's how I'll analogize it. Dude, I don't know a lot of people that have done 2,000 podcasts or had 3,000 clients. Imagine what was Tyler like with 200 podcasts and 300 clients under the belt. I'm sure less of an expert.
Oh my gosh, dude, I'm so much smarter than I was. Yeah, no, that's why
I think we're really hard on ourselves. I'm really hard on myself. I know that, but I'm saying I don't want to speak for you. I'm very hard on myself. One of the ways that I use that, and so I don't become too anxious or too depressed, is that I make these goals and I keep my commitment to it, and then I work. And I'm working towards becoming more educated, becoming more of an expert in my craft. And I don't know. That's my retort to some of your angst, if I'm picking it up correctly.
Well, no, I mean, I could relate to the idiot thing. Like when I do my interviews, and I actually enjoy. I more would say like I'm super curious, but you could say that like. And I think most people are not like this, and I think they should be. And it's not necessarily being hard on yourself. I just think like I'm always open to being wrong, always, even if I know, like, and I should say no, but even like if somebody were to be like, "Yo, your partnership method, even though it's gotten your business to this level, that is so stupid. There's a better way." I'd be like, "Okay, tell me what it is." Like I'm open, even though you basically called my entire method stupid. I would like to know, because if it is better, I will happily implement and we can go. So, and I think a lot of people, they're, what's that thing? Yo, isn't there a book about this with ideas and people? It's like your ideas are not you or something.
Think
like
Again?
that. It might be. I don't
I
know.
haven't read Adam Grant's Think Again, but I'll shout that out because there's an underlying preface from a lot of literature speaks that though, and it's a natural human
Yeah.
inclination.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. It's
Or
just,
I don't know. Or what were you saying? What do you mean?
well, I just
For
think
those that don't know.
I
Hold
do
on.
listen.
Did I
I
lose?
listen to a
Say
lot
that
of him
again.
as well. So some of it,
Wait,
oh no,
say that again.
yeah,
You
yeah,
just got some lag.
I listen to a lot of Rogan, like a lot of people do, and I think he's a little hard. He actually says all the time. He calls himself an idiot all the time. He literally does that on the show all the time. But it's more so that like I just know that I don't know everything. I don't know even close to everything. I'm way closer to nothing than everything, right? So it's like I'm just always open
Wow.
to whatever it is, and I'm not attached to my ideas, even if they've proven themselves over and over again. I keep it in the back of my mind of like, yo, this works, let's keep doing it. But I am open for anybody listening to this podcast. If you think like, feel free. And I, not to keep comparing to Rogan, but it's like he says, you shouldn't read the comments, right? Because a lot of like hate and stuff out there. And hey, if it's working for him, I think that's great. But I'm always looking for feedback, right? Like I like, and I don't take a negative thing personal necessarily. I mean, I guess I could if it really hit home. I'd be like, damn, he's right. But I think I would be fine. Although he gets more comments than most. So I guess if you have 20,000 people every day saying something negative about you, maybe that would get to you. I don't know. What were we talking about?
I think sometimes in good conversations, where you're enjoying each other, you forget.
Yeah,
Frankly,
that's the point. Maybe
I guess the theme that I was looking for, and we went down a rabbit hole, was, I guess, and use, how to apply this to the audience if they've ever thought of writing a book. I did write the book. I wrote it. I wrote every letter, and Jenna edited it, and you published it. We published it together. You published it.
Yeah.
Your company, or our company, Authors Unite. I want to give the credit to, obviously.
Yep. I forgot that we did that.
Which was, it's because that's a psychological thing too.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing. So I've had to learn to be okay with silence.
Me too. I know it's tough.
What do you think it is about that's tough?
Well, I think it's very uncommon in podcasts, and I do think, and I would love to be able to like measure this, but I don't know if it's possible to measure it completely on your own. You'd have to be very aware. And maybe it's actually just a question I could ask you. Do you think I'm different when I'm being recorded and when I'm not being recorded? Do I act different? Like, I don't know. I don't think if I do, it's not much different. It can't be too much. Like,
Well, so I don't think I have, and I've observed you enough in other mediums to give you an answer that would be objective enough.
So the reason I bring that up, and it's actually less about me, but more in general, I think most people actually do without knowing it. And but it's subtle, right? Like there are, and I mean, it's obvious. There are some things, right? And I'm being very open, to be clear. I'm not like trying to hide things, but there are some things that I would talk to you about on this recording. And there are some things that I would not talk to you about on this recording because it's not the setting for some things, right? But I guess that doesn't mean I'm not being myself. It just means I'm intelligently deciding like, hey, that topic is not meant for this platform. So it doesn't mean I'm being different. It's just selective, I guess. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Well, absolute.
Oh, so that goes to the pause thing. Sorry, that's what I was trying to answer is
Oh, I see.
I think in podcasts, that does not happen often. And that's why I was saying, are you acting as you would if it wasn't recording? Because in a conversation that's not being recorded, I think a pause is more comfortable. But when there's an audience, you're like, what do I do with this pause? Nobody wants to watch two guys sit back like this for 5 hours and not say anything.
Yeah, and then I'd have to ask myself, who am I doing? Like,
woo, yeah, we go deeper. That's fun. I get what you're saying.
who, how comfortable am I? I've done that.
You're muted. I can't
No,
hear
I
you.
just
Oh,
stuttered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now we're getting real. I've addressed audiences in public speaking that way,
Oh, I know. I've seen it.
not in a rush. Well, that's my alarm just to make sure we got some time still.
Oh, yeah, we got 30 minutes.
Yeah, we got time. My theory is that the more honest one is in their interpersonal lives, like, or my interpretation of, let's say, many of the theories that I put myself through in study, attempting to put myself together like Humpty Dumpty, as well as those that have given me the opportunity to serve them in varying capacities, is this. The more I embrace interpersonal conflicts, I'm honest and can handle the pain of that, what comes back to me, and act in an open, forgiving manner, my anxiety will go down. The anxiety, I'm not talking anxiety like, oh, I have a test coming up, I didn't study. I'm talking about, capital A anxiety, the implicit anxiety, the dizziness of freedom, as Kierkegaard would put it. It's like, who am I? Why am I here? What happens when I die? I'm talking about that anxiety.
Yeah.
So I've been in my own little test subject in a sense where I feel more comfortable in my own skin. And I think it's to do with embracing the fires that I've created, whether with awareness or not, in my life. And some of the fruit of that have been able to, for example, say no more if it's appropriate, speak my mind up when I want to, with respect, address a crowd with them, not for me through the idea of what they represent to me, or so. Like, there's this weird paradigm shift when one is put or not paradigm. It's almost like, if I'm addressing the crowd, whether it's on the podcast with the supposition that millions are going to listen to it, or, who's listening, or, or whether it's standing in front of 100 people or 2 people or 100,000, there's a level of pressure, angst. Like, if you think about it, you and me, we're on this, we both spoken together publicly, like back to back. You're in front of people. Culture is judging you. The human experience is valuing you.
Yeah.
And what if I want to be there in the first place because I need to be valued to accept me? So that's the reason I'm even there. Now, they don't know that. Shit, they think I got the answer. So culture is judging me. I'm doing it for culture. I'm just as effed up as the people in the audience. I have the same problems as them. But implicit in this idealistic or idolistic relationship, I'm up on the stage and they're in the audience. So implicitly, before the crowd, I'm not saying on an individual level, because there should be someone in there that says, you're an asshole. This guy's an idiot, right? It's like, I hope to be the person that says, yeah, get up on stage with me.
Yeah.
But before the crowd, I might be presumed as what? Well, we give people the benefit of the doubt first. It's one of the beautiful things about culture, about the human condition. At the same time, it's not a good idea to give a pedophile the benefit of the doubt or a murderer
Yeah.
that's just murdered. It's just, it's past tense. They murdered. Are they a murderer? I mean, they only did it once. That was 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, they are.
But in theory, practically, it makes sense not to give them the benefit of the doubt. What I'm trying to say of that analogy is, or metaphor rather, the crowd is giving you and me right now, the podcast audience, or we're standing before 100 people, 2 people, or 1 million. They give us the benefit of the doubt as a collective. This person's supposed to be there. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to negate my word. I'm not going to interrupt them. I'm going to let them talk. Example, when everyone's on their phone in the audience, they're not present. They might as well be standing up and saying, "You're a loser." Something that I said or didn't say, or like I didn't maintain that alignment. There wasn't a level of respect back and forth.
Yeah.
Why am I bringing all that up? Because the idea of the pause, it's not pausing to pause. It's I'm here, I'm present, I'm thinking. I don't know what I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not playing a character. Now, at some level, I'm always playing a character. I'm playing a character if I have a business. At some level,
Yeah.
my character is CEO. What the hell does that mean? Yo, you want to be a CEO? Go tell somebody else's dog to sit. That's like some quote I read once. Like, right, you want to feel like you want to know how much power you really have. Go tell somebody.
Oh my God, that's actually hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, what do you think of all that? I mean, I just enjoy talking to myself right there for the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, no, well, you know
No,
what?
I know you're listening. I'm going off on a tangent here.
Well, no, I think that like it's actually to have some pauses is more natural than to not have any, right? So it would actually make more sense to have some pauses. It's just for some reason when I know it's recording, I'm not thinking about it before, right? But when a pause happens and it's maybe at like the 3rd second, I start to then think about the audience and I'm like, well, they're not getting anything from this particular moment. Or maybe they actually are. Maybe they need a break too. Like,
Well, do you think part of that could be some, ultimately I'm laughing because then I ultimately ...
Well, it's like I actually, so when we're just talking, I am thinking about just us having a conversation. The side part I'm thinking about is like the value of the audience. But then when the pause comes, that order of importance.
So interesting.
That's what I'm realizing.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. I just think that when we're just talking, I'm just thinking, okay, a side benefit of this is the audience is going to get value from it. That's great. But I'm more just enjoying the conversation naturally.
How do we know that the audience is? How can we differentiate that from your own projection of you're getting value and so you're assuming they are?
Well, yeah, I mean, the argument could be that maybe the pause is the most valuable part of this for the audience. But I would hope not.
Well, this is my curiosity. What makes you think the audience is getting value from the part where mine and yours or mouth is opening and
Well, I mean,
words are coming out?
just
I'm genuinely curious. Like, what do you think about this conversation has been helpful to the audience, if anything at all?
Well, I think it's similar because it is the kind of format that I feel like Rogan spearheaded of just the open conversation. So I think, well, first, right, like we both have businesses that do very well, especially like for our ages too. So I think, like you were saying, the giving hope, but also I've given some straight up advice on how to scale a business. I haven't gone direct in detail, but from a business standpoint, we've added value there. And then third, I couldn't like necessarily pinpoint exact things, but just inevitably some parts of the conversation are going to connect with some people and other parts will connect with others. But again, it's kind of the format I feel like Rogan spearheaded. And it's like, I'll listen to 3 hours of a Rogan episode and, maybe I'll get enjoyment out of it just from hearing it. But then there's like 6 or 7 moments that I'll take notes. Right.
Wow,
So
really?
if I were to guess, there's got to be at least 5 moments in this that is worthy of taking a note. And I'd say it started off with the quote in the beginning. It's a good quote. Most people don't know about, and I can't even pronounce his last name. I'm afraid to say it. Arthur Schopenhauer.
No, you got it, dude. Yeah.
I was within Chopin or Chopin, so I'm glad I got Chopin.
Yeah, it's a hard one to spell too. And I'm like 8 pages in his big book. And
the 3-volume book.
dude, I got to get that one out and read it.
It
is so difficult. The world as well as an idea.
Yeah, it's like light blue, 3 volumes. I have that. Yeah, I've not read it though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. I've opened
Nietzsche's life. He read it.
Well, that's what's so fascinating. I think that's actually I think you had told me that, and that's what got me fascinated. I'm like, well, if this is the precursor to Nietzsche. Well, shit, I'm curious about that. I mean, that sounds interesting.
I hope to do it. I want to take a class on it. Frankly, that would be a goal. But as you were saying, you were talking about Schopenhauer, the quote. You think that those nuggets, that's where the content is. Do you think that it would be a good idea to do more of these kinds of episodes? Because so the format that we did tonight is different than the Culture Matters podcast for a couple reasons. Number one, our relationship, our friendship. I think ultimately it would be weird, almost weird on a level to interview you.
Yeah.
but I do want to listen to you. I do want to do a better job of, learning more from you, because I think that's a very important piece of having an actual friendship with someone, and not like a click or a clack or, clapping, like we're just clapping for each other and like, oh yeah, we're only friends when things are good. So I'm working on that generally.
Yeah.
But it's also, I'm trying to be more open generally.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a good idea. Like, give me some advice on the book.
Well,
let me tell the people the truth. Like, you help with the book. You can help them with the book. The book has been instrumental in Culture Matters growth. I'm going to do a bunch more, obviously. And we've been working. So, but yeah, I want your thoughts on that. Well, that's why we're doing it this way. So my first question is, do you think it would be a good idea to do more of these? Not just with you, but like, I could think like Jeremy, I could be more open with.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely.
I have other friends.
And aren't they
friends? I have a lot of friends.
They're sick. I like not knowing where a conversation is going to go. And that's what drove me crazy about the way I was doing my podcast before, is it was just robotic. It was like, here's exactly where it's starting. Here's exactly where it's ending. Whereas this format, like, you end up going down these rabbit holes. You don't even know how you got there. It's sick. It's fun.
Do you know anything about the listening time? Sorry, I'm interrupting, but
yeah.
I selfishly want to know this before we run out of time. Do you know what the average podcasting listening time is? The data on that?
I have no idea. I'll look into it though.
Can we find out?
Pretty easily find outable.
Do you know Jeremy Slate?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's a solid guy. I've had on the show once, and he said he'd come back. But he does some great things with podcasting. I didn't know if you know.
I've referred him a few.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's a good one. Smart.
I like his product a lot. See, and it would almost be too long to go down that. But I just think, again, I don't know where he started, but if I had to guess, he probably made some pivots, and his offer right now is very dialed in. It's very good. A lot of people. So it's good.
I love the idea of being involved in the podcast culture, because I have so many thoughts about podcast culture. I have so many beliefs about podcast culture. I think I understand the interview process. The reason I asked about the data is because the average episode of the Culture Matters podcast has a listening time of over 91%.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, people are really listening to the episodes. That's why I want to know what the
That's
average
good.
is. And I hope that it continues to be high if I'm more involved in some of the conversations where it's more conversational and less of an interview. I don't want to confuse the audience, but I don't know. I've had a good time tonight talking about these things with you. And I believe it's valuable too, to the audience. For a lot of reasons. I couldn't see how some of the topics couldn't be.
By the way, I tried to find that data, but I can't understand the data. I think
Really?
yeah. I mean, because the way you were asking it was like, what's the average like percentage in a sense, right? Like not the actual listening time, but the average percentage of the full of a podcast, right? Or were you saying the time?
It's
Yeah,
percentage. So like if,
yeah, percent.
yeah, so 90% of an hour
Yeah, it's
kind
not
of thing.
showing that. It
54.
the way it's presented is 15% of podcasts are listened to for less than 10 minutes. And then it
Wow.
keeps going in percentages, but that doesn't give us a percentage of
Well, wait, what's the 1%? Is there like a top 1% listening time? Or no? You're saying 15%. This is interesting. It sounds like an 80-20 distribution here.
yeah,
15%. So the bottom 15% are listening barely at all. Well, I guess the question would be, how long is the average podcast?
yeah,
Does it say?
no. But let's find out. That's
This is where we need like a Jamie with that guy on the show, right?
20 to 40 minutes.
So that's 30 minutes on average. Our episodes are about 70 or 80 minutes on average. The longest episodes are 2.5 hours. The shortest are like 70 minutes. There's only like 3 that's 60 minutes ever. And there's 126, 7. Like, they're all long episodes. But the average listening time is over 90%.
Dude, that's actually incredible. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I put a lot of work into the interview, right? I
Yeah.
prepare. I'm asking questions that the people generally have never been asked, because I'm not asking a question and then a new question. I'm asking a question and then asking a question based on what they say, and then asking a question based on what they say after that, and then asking a question based on what they say after that. So it's like an iceberg. You go deeper and deeper and deeper into the water.
See, that's
based on
why
what the person's saying. So that's created, it's cultivated and curated conversations that people, if they're on podcasts a lot, they've never had that conversation before in their life, because it's based on whatever comes out. And then that's proportional to my preparation. So if I know where someone was born, or how long they were in school, or where they went to school, and what they studied, and what jobs they had, and how long they were there, and like, I have a whole process that I came up with called the culture map of reverse engineering, like from where someone was born, what presidents were president at what ages, where they worked, what they went to do for school. And I get this map. I figure out their life, and then I'll go into the conversation not knowing the person at all, but I have all these questions about them now, right? Like, why were you arrested in 78? Yeah, like, because I did the preparation, and then that leads to better questions, and then that leads to more openness, and then that leads to like the person kind of, this is from my experience interacting with these people, they start revealing outside of whatever script has developed from being on a lot of shows.
totally, yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's good to prepare, but I don't think it's necessarily good to like send questions to the interviewee beforehand. And the reason is because I like what you're saying there. And that's why I think the way I did it before, it's such a lazy way to do it, to be like, I'm going to ask everybody the same questions.
Well, I want to challenge you on that. I don't think you were ever, you and lazy is like an oxymoron. That's like a,
okay, fair enough.
That's like, yeah, that's not, no, maybe you a different.
Well,
I just don't think lazy. I wouldn't give you that.
Yeah, I agree. When you do 20 podcasts in one day, that's definitely not lazy. And I think the format of 15 minutes, it's not even enough time to even do a interview in the way we're talking about, because it's like it would go down windy paths, and then in the middle of a rabbit hole, you'd have to be like, cut.
Well, what about now that you're coming with such energy of curiosity? What's that been like?
Oh, it's been awesome. So, I mean, the way I do it now is every Wednesday I do 2 1-hour shows, and
Wow.
1 hour seems to be like the sweet spot. At least for the way that I do it. And there are some, actually, I'd say there's a decent amount, it just comes down to time, but there are a decent amount that it's like very clear that it could have went on for like multiple more hours. So
That's a
maybe,
great sign.
yeah, but it's also, I guess there's just only so much time in the
Ty,
day.
how many do you do a year now?
Well, okay, so 2 a week, about 100. Yeah.
Now, are you posting these every week, 2 a week, or what?
Yeah, for the most part. It just basically like, so the 2 I did today, my team will download it from Zoom tomorrow, and then probably one will get posted Friday, one will get posted Monday, something like that. It's not an exact schedule that we.
Do you think, like, what's the difference between once a week and twice a week in your experience with that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if I only did 1 a week, then that one could just roll for as long as I wanted, right? Which would be kind
No,
of
that's
cool.
not where I'm going with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
curious what you think is the value of two. I don't.
I
Yeah.
don't know, actually. I think maybe it's that I feel for some reason one's not enough or something. I don't know why.
Well, I was curious if you got that advice from anybody.
Oh,
Or you just naturally thought, let's do 2 a week.
yeah, I just
Like, why
naturally,
not 3?
well, I would do 3 actually, because that, I think I initially did think that, because I was like, okay, if I'm not going to have one come out once a day, then I would want to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I think I thought every Monday, Friday, and I think it was just more of like an attention type thing of like, because I really do. The podcast is something similar with Authors Unite, as long as, a lot of people say books are going to change a lot, which I agree, but hopefully they don't like die or anything. I don't think they could die. But I mean, I guess what I'm getting at here is like Authors Unite, I could totally do forever, but I do think that the publishing industry is going to change enough that like, I don't know if it has 20, 30 years in it, right? Like, but hopefully maybe. But podcasting, I do think for another, I mean, how could podcasting ever end? All that'll happen is it'll evolve in the way that like in 50 years from now, even though me and you are on different parts of the world, we'll actually feel like we're next to each other in a room because of like.
Why don't we create like a media podcasting entity or something at some point?
Dude, we should have actually something. I think we've talked about that, kind of how like Daily Wire or something like that, like, and have like a group or something. That'd be sick.
I would be interested in even a some type of conference, not conference, maybe not conference, but something for our age demographic.
Mm,
Couple years below, couple years above, like the up and comers that are doing that first, a peer group,
yeah.
that are podcasting and doing these things. Because I think it's evident that this is a new wave, and the people, 7 years below us and 7 years above us that are doing it in our age range, that 25 to under 40, they're going to be a light year ahead of their peers, our peers that aren't,
Yeah.
in 10 years. And Joe Rogan is the messiah because he got paid first in a sense.
Yeah.
And he undersold his brand by 500 million easily.
Probably, yeah. Or
Right.
definitely.
So like, and Howard Stern makes so much less than him because he undersold. He's not been getting the right advice, feedback, whatever. Anyway, I think we're missing I think
Yeah,
there's
dude, that's
somewhere with the
actually crazy.
podcasting.
Like if Howard Stern was a Spotify exclusive, he would probably have a ton more eyeballs right now. Like what, like I think, I don't know. I haven't watched.
Absolutely. But that's David and Goliath. Goliath has market share. They're inculcated and I mean, or if it wasn't like that, then there wouldn't be any Tyler Wagners in the world. It would be these Random House would be doing what you did, and you would have never been able to do what you did with publishing.
Yeah.
Right. That's how life works. Like, how am I the culture guy? Well, I got the information. I networked and met the people and took the risk. I didn't go to the Ivy League to learn. I bought the textbooks, and then the internet gave me an audience. And I like, so there's people out there that are 20, 30 years older than me. We're reading the same books, you know?
Yeah.
There's this renaissance going on. I don't know. That's like coming because you're getting heavily involved in podcasting now. Is that what's going on?
I wouldn't say, I mean, I'm just kind of sticking to our Authors Unite and my other company, the Infinite Partnership System, that is it's growing way quicker than my podcast is growing. But the podcast is just something of longevity that and enjoyment, just true enjoyment. So that's how I view it. With the podcast, I really don't even have and I know, you could say that posting 2 a week is a strategy, but it's more like, I don't even view the podcast as like trying to get more listeners. Like, whereas my 2 businesses.
Well, yeah, I would say that's not a strategy. You've built a culture.
Yeah.
And the culture increases the conversion on any tactics that would lead to converting sales.
Yeah.
Because the brand bias, like in the relational interaction, meaning what you've done transcends strategy, it influences strategy. You create a culture.
Yeah.
With your podcasting, because you're just a lovable guy. People want to talk to you. Yeah. Which is why you're like my first conversationalist episode.
Yeah, dude.
Think about it. I mean, I don't know. Now I'm thinking like Authors Unite. What if the authors united,
dude,
around a podcasting table?
Yeah.
And it was about something not about books, and it's right. That's not pitchy. Let people organically do the Wall Street on their own, or organically write on their own. But because everyone will have to make a book to prove that they're not full of shit. Because when you write a book, you grow, right? This was like 30 Days of Thought was like my report card. Not my report card. It was like, what do you call that? Like,
oh, I know what you're thinking.
A book report.
Oh, okay. Book report.
Book report.
Oh, I was thinking thesis, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's you said it more eloquently. But what about that idea? Like authors uniting. Dude,
what do you think about? So I literally want to do it.
Help me out here.
We've talked about this for a while, and I just feel like the reason I haven't done it, and I think it's sad that I haven't done it, but I have not felt confident enough that I could put on a worthy event. Like, I just don't know the structure of how to put on an event, but maybe it's just, here's my idea. Is I was like, okay, we have just on the Wall Street side, like we've done over 400 of those campaigns, right?
Holy moly.
So I'm like, okay, just those people alone, I was thinking, what if I sent them on email? It was just like, hey, on September 28th, whatever, I'm renting a yacht. It's 100 feet long, and I want you all to join me. If you're down, reply yes. That's it, in Miami, right? And that's all it is. Not charge anything, just free, and just try to get this. Because I was thinking about,
dude, that's a great idea to go before the podcasting round table or something.
Yeah, because it's just, I think it's
fun first is your idea kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it's not so much pressure on me then of like having this organized event. It's just like,
yes.
These 400 people, some of them are billionaires. Like collectively, the net worth of these 400 plus people, I don't know what it is, but it's got to be.
Would they benefit from meeting each other? Would be my first question, because it's got to be about the people.
Totally. So that's what I'm thinking, is that this, and it doesn't have to be a yacht, but obviously that's more appealing to a lot of people. A yacht in Miami, it's the thing or whatever. So it's, yes, like that networking, relationship building day or weekend would be incredible. And it starts there. and then everybody loves it. And then it's like, hey, maybe we do these quarterly and they're more structured, if you want to, and then we can talk about it, something like that. But for the first one, I guess I'm just too nervous to try to build an event and charge for it. So
I think that's a fair, I think that you're the type of person that people would show up to that. And the less you put thought into it,
yeah,
the
dude,
better it would be.
I
Because
know. That's how most things in my
I
life
think you,
that's funny.
there's a level of irony if we're not uniting as the authors
I agree.
physically. So and that's not against a knock on you or your business model. It's an evolution of you and your business model, meaning I think that because of who you are as a CEO, this will be a multi 9-figure potential long beyond equity because of who you are as a person. Maybe this is just the natural evolution that this insane base of people that you've helped and connected with, you're already a connector, someone that looks at the patterns and the puzzle and brings people together to solve issues.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is maybe the natural evolution of the business is bringing people together physically. How does that? I would say start with what feels natural to you and then kind of see where it goes. I do think that because you have so much passion around podcasting and you're good at it and you've demonstrated, you've done more than anyone I know. B, you've learned through it. And C, it's not your direct deliverable product. There's such a value to bringing people around it because it will do on a macro level, on a group level, what's already happened organically from it, where someone says, can I work with you? Because you're so
really
on
sick.
it with that. So that's where I just think
We could
these
do
are
it.
not improvements. This is you evolving.
Yeah,
You've grown this amazing business. It's just evolving.
I agree. And I think what I've noticed is a lot of times when I just go with my gut, it works out. And when I over plan, it doesn't work. So I feel like to just like being like, I'm going to invite you guys to this. I'll even say just a couple notes in there. Like, you don't have to do it, but like, I'll have a podcast studio set up on the yacht and we can do interviews. But ultimately it's just to hang out, get to know each other. And if you guys work together, great. If you don't, great. Either doesn't matter. It's just more like I've somehow been able to attract this level of people and you all do not know each other, but I know all
There's
of
so
you.
much power in that.
Yeah. And they need to know
If it's genuine.
crazy, man.
Dude, I'm going to the Berkshire meeting in May.
Oh, you are? Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know.
Think about that.
I know. I'm going to
They've been doing that all these years. There's no Berkshire the way it is today without that meeting.
True. Definitely.
I met a guy in first class a couple weeks ago that I listened to him on a podcast, actually. And he was sitting next to me in the plane. And he's going there too.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, because I was reading a book on I was reading an encyclopedia type book on Berkshire. And it sparked a conversation. And it turns out I listened to the guy on podcasts. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I listen to one from the Columbia Business School on value investing.
Oh,
it's called it's called the Value Investing with Legends podcast. And I listened to all the episodes, and this guy sitting to my right was on the show.
Oh.
Because I recommended the podcast to him, and he goes, I'm on it. I was like, oh my God. I said, how many fans have you met? He goes, none. I was like, you're my Kim Kardashian. So I was like, this is how people feel listening to these things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I love studying I've seen all of these textbooks here. Like this is a textbook on mergers and acquisitions, distressed M&A, due diligence, valuation, modeling. Like I've been reading all these books for our client partners and to be more adept at business for and all investments and I'm sitting next to somebody that manages capital for a living that I listen to this. I'm just like, wow, this is the power of podcast. Like, wow. And I was struck like a fanboy. And I don't get like that with celebrities because I don't watch TV. But with the person that does, reads financial statements all day long, to me, that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. No, it is. I would have been the same way. I think that because one of your questions kind of midway was like when you start to become successful and like, what's that like in a sense or something like, I think like investing is a whole new world and we could do a whole nother podcast on that.
Well, you have to come on again. I mean, obviously we have to do another one and talk about that.
Because that's actually where some of my time is spent these days is truly trying to understand how to build like long-term wealth because you can make, I think I'm very good at making money, but as far as investing, that is another beast. And
why don't we on the next time we can like the next time you come on, we can go through like Yahoo Finance will go through financial statements and
all right, that would be
that.
Dude, that would be
why
awesome.
not, right?
Yeah, I'm down.
Because like we're at the age and the place in our businesses where that's now becoming important. We have to make a decision. Are we like, you don't even own a car, right?
No, I don't have a car.
I wish I didn't, frankly. It's such a waste. It's such a waste of money. We put 2,000 miles on our car. We traveled 200 days this year on the road. We did a few 100,000 miles in the air, and we own a car. We don't drive. And the reason I bring all that up is we're not thinking about buying cars and buying fancy houses. We're thinking about investing into businesses and buying real estate and doing things. Yeah. So I think you and me, maybe as the, lay people, it would be helpful even to talk about that on this, like, and show the audience the problems. You know what I'm saying?
I would be straight up and say, I do not even know how to read a financial statement. And
that's why we should do it. We should try to figure it out. Like do it live, like Google, what is retained earnings? And what is it? Because if you go to like one of these, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%, man, dude.
All right, here's the example. We go to Yahoo Finance, we type in like Apple
or Apple,
yeah. And we look at and it's gonna say, market capitalization. What the hell is that? Share price times shares outstanding. Okay. What the fuck? What's that mean? Like, and I don't know a lot of it. That's why I'm curious to do this because it'll force me to, because it looks like a different language.
It's the best way to learn, dude. And honestly, like
we should do that. I think
that's what's great, right? That sounds fun to me, but the idea of me doing that on my own does not sound that fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, but how many people can relate to that?
Yeah.
And then we have targets on our back because we'll go hire financial advisors who like, if we don't know what we're doing, how do we know they know what they're doing?
Yeah, we wouldn't. Yeah.
And I think about that a lot because when you save money and you don't buy things you want, like I would love a watch at some point. Well, in theory, right? You don't need to tell time, but like you want things like maybe I'll get, I'd like, to go on a skiing trip. I want to learn how to ski. But right now we want to build our future. So we're not doing those things. We're investing into the business. We're thinking about our long-term futures. And anyway, I know we went past the time. We're going to have to leave the audience on a call to action that we're going to do this. We're going to do this again. And we didn't even get to any of the topics that I had.
Really?
I wanted to ask you about SVB Bank.
Oh my God. I was just thinking about that. Okay.
Next time, I wanted to ask you about FTS because in my kitchen, I got an argument with somebody about Bitcoin. and then 2 weeks later, I'm proved right. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
That's awesome.
FTX, like, hello, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that. We'll save that next time. Yeah.
So it'll be like a financial conversation next time. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, well, let's see, let me just go through the topics so that way when I re-listen next time, I'll know what I wanted to talk to you about. Wait, where are my topics? Oh, here. I don't know where they are. I'll have to find it, but I had notes here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about 2023, what you thought is going to happen and how things are. We could save that. I wanted to ask about your biggest wins for 2020 and 2021. I wanted to ask about SVB and all that and what you see out there. I wanted to ask about Bitcoin. We talked about Authors Unite. I wanted to ask about traveling the world. Where are you right now?
Columbia.
Yeah,
South
dude, there's so much we could have talked about there.
I know.
I wanted to ask about the Wall Street Journal. You alluded to it saying that you've helped people. I think we should plug that at the end here. And I wanted to ask about being young and rich. I think we covered some of that. It's kind of fucked up, but so can you just end with what does Authors Unite actually do?
Yeah.
What do you mean by Wall Street Journal? And then close it out with the audience of what you think they need to take away from this conversation. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think if I were to Authors Unite, I think the foundation of it was I had realized that there wasn't really any book publishers that also did marketing. So Authors Unite is essentially a book publishing company that also does marketing. And I would say not just that, but it's like very effective marketing, right? Like we guarantee certain things and we really have cracked the code on how to give a book a real chance at success. And can literally guarantee its success in the short term, but obviously you can never guarantee it in the long term because it depends on if people like the book or not. But so that picture, if I were to paint it, would be we could write, publish, market a book, and in the end, you could have a book that hits the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, sells tens of thousands of copies, and has thousands of reviews. And this is not just me, but it's some of my partners that I would bring into the situation. And through all that, you'd have a book on Amazon that has a very good chance of succeeding. And then the Wall Street Journal, a little more detail on that. Basically, it's a top 10 bestseller list, similar to the New York Times, although as far as like the outside would view a list, but how it's calculated is actually very different. But essentially, Wall Street's the top 10 most sold nonfiction ebooks or books in a week. And we do 2 of those every week. We do it through email list marketing. We focus on the ebook. And if you get about 5,000 sales in a week, you can hit the list through Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Those are the stores we focus on. And then, anything book related, it's authorsunite.com, and anything me related, Instagram is probably a good place. Tyler B. Wagner is my Instagram.
Hi, what's your last thought of what the audience should take away from tonight?
I guess we can end it where we started it, right? So with the truth quote. So I think that if you're on a path and people are giving you a hard time on it, maybe keep going for a little while and it might turn into gold. Say that.
Hi, thank you for coming on to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast. I'm excited to have you on again. We're going to talk about all those things and more. And thank you all for listening to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast. And email Tyler at, what's your email?
Tyler at authorsunite.com. Easy.
If you don't like this. So we can improve. Yeah, it's like, don't email me. No, email Tyler. And I would love it because then we could grow. And I just randomly thought about that last second. So maybe that's helpful. Maybe it's just funny joke, but
I'll have to hire another assistant just to handle all those emails.
I don't think don't email him. Now I feel really bad. All right. We will see you all on the next episode of the Culture Matters.